Hi, welcome back to Christine's Home Affairs. I've got a couple of really quick projects on the go at the moment, and this is one of them. A little while back I did an envelope style clutch, little fold over clutch type of bag. I'm going to be doing another one. This has got a slightly different style pocket in it. We can use this as a mobile phone and glasses combo as well. So hang around, I'll show you this very quick project that we can do in a very quick time. We've only got a couple of pieces of fabric for this project. We'll need a small tab to bring across from the front, so I've got some scrap fabric here for that, and I'll put the cutting instructions up on the screen shortly. We've got 16 inches by 9 inches and 11 inches by 9 inches, these two pieces of fabric. For these two, I didn't mean to get a directional fabric, but I don't think it'll really matter. And what I've also done is put some interfacing on the back of it. This is just a lightweight cotton interfacing. It's fusible. And I've cut that at 15.5 inches by 8.5 inches and 10.5 inches by 8.5 inches. So I just want to have 1/4 of an inch all the way around. And I've fused that to the wrong side of the fabric. And because this is directional, I'm just going to have to suck it up and work with it as is. What we want to do is take our main fabric and place our lining directly over the top. We'll go to the machine and we're going to just stitch right along this edge here and here. We're going to leave this section open for turning through. I'm quickly going to go and sew this section now. I don't need to take you with me, do I? That's easy. Okay, I've sewed the main fabric and the lining together, and what we have here is a little opening. So what I've done is stitched right beside the interfacing from the outside edge in, and then from the outside edge in on this side. I've left an opening of about 4 or 5 inches. We can open this out and then we can finger press this seam so that it sits nice and flat. And I'll finger press that section in the middle as well because I just want to set a crease. So that's looking nice and straight along here, and there's our opening. For the tab on the outside of our little pouch, we need a piece of fabric that is 5 inches wide by 8 inches long. Then we're going to fold the edges in and fold them in again, and that'll give us a nice crisp tab. Before you do that, you want to fold in this 1/4 of an inch edge on both sides, and then we can fold the raw edges in. Now that my fabric has been folded together here, I'm going to sew all the way around and close up all of these edges. We're also going to take this fabric on the main fabric here, come up 6.5 inches from the bottom edge. My ruler is 6.5 inches wide. I'm just going to place that right along the bottom edge there and find the center as well. So this is 9 inches. Coming up 6.5 inches. I've got 4.5 inches from the outside. So I've got 4.5 inches from the outside edges, 6.5 inches from the bottom. We're also going to prepare our folds as well because we're going to do a few things at the machine all at once. I'm going to measure from the lining side 4 inches from the outside edge and mark a line right across, and my line is just along here. Then this center section here where we've got the opening, we're going to bring that seam up, place that on this 4-inch line. We're not going to sew this just yet. I'm just making some marks. Just to pop a clip in the side there. And from this fold here, we're going to measure 3/4 of an inch. And I've marked that with another line there. And take this fabric and line up the bottom edge of this fabric with the bottom edge of the lining. So we've got the main and the lining lined up along the bottom there with a fold. You can reposition the clips and then take your main fabric or your outer fabric and bring that down to line up with that drawn line at 3/4 of an inch from the top here. We'll clip that in place for now. So what we have now is our lining, our opening section folded up, and another opening section here folded up. When we take this, if we fold that up, line it up along the bottom edge here, that should be in line with the lining fabric that you've got underneath. As long as you have the bottom folds lined up, that's all that matters. This here can be adjusted or trimmed back later. Open this out again. When this has been sewn all the way around, remember that little mark that we've made here, 4.5 inches in and 6.5 inches from the edge? That's going to be positioned right here. So what I want to do before I do that is set a crease just along here, and I'll pop a clip in just to keep that fold line. And I'm going to take this to the machine and top stitch right along the top edge there. With this one here, it has the opening, and later on we're going to close this section up, and we also need to top stitch as well. Rather than top stitching later when it's going to be difficult with the seams in the way, I'm going to do a couple of inches of top stitching here and here, and then later on when we close up the top of the bag, we can finish with the top stitching along there. It'll just make it a little bit easier to work with the fabric if I do that now. So top stitch part way on this one, all the way on that one. When we've done that and we've stitched this, then we can take this, place that down over that center. We'll stitch across the bottom, along the two sides and across the center as well. And we're going to go 5 inches from here out. We want to keep this part as a flap. So let's take that all to the machine and top stitch, stitch and position. I'm only doing a narrow top stitch, about 1/8 of an inch from the top. And then take the section with the opening and we'll do a little bit on each side. And now I'll change my thread and sew the strap. Now I am placing this strap onto this fabric here, onto the outside fabric. Just make sure all of the other fabric is out of the way and line that up so that it sits nice and evenly on both sides. So you just want to measure that. You have the tab the same distance from both sides of the fabric. And then I'm going to follow the line of stitching that I've already done on this strap, and I'm going to come up 5 inches. Then I'm going to go straight across. And back down. And finish up with the tab sewn onto the outer fabric. So there's our little strap here. If you want to be a little bit more decorative, you can actually curve the edge of the strap. I was a little bit slack, I couldn't be bothered really. Now we can go back and find all of these folds that we've done. So we've got our top stitching here, we've got partial top stitching here, still with our opening here, and we'll take this up to that 4-inch line, position that in place, bring the fabric all the way up, fold it down to the lining fold, reposition those clips. So we've got that nice and even along the bottom, and then it's just a matter of laying that straight down because the top stitching has been done, so it'll actually automatically sit down. Clip all of those layers together again, and our tab needs to just be pushed out of the way for the time being. I'm just going to pin the flap of the tab toward the inside. Now we can take the rest of this piece here and fold it up and line it up with those 2 folds that we've already got. And we can clip all of those layers together again. So what you have now is your main, your lining, and then we've got a couple of pockets here. We need to sew the side seam down, but we also want to make this look a little bit better than just a rectangular bag. So find yourself a curve. Whatever curve you're happy with will be fine. So from the top of the fabric here down is 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches there, along here as well, and down there. So if you measure 2.5 inches from the corner in both directions and make a mark there, and then you can just draw a curve. Or you can make it a straight diagonal as well and make it an angled envelope style clutch. Place these pieces together. You want to line up the lining and the main fabric. We're going to pin that together so that they line up perfectly there. So in this case, we've got a 1/4 inch seam allowance on either side because our interfacing is a 1/4 inch smaller on either side. This line that we've drawn will be our stitching line. So we've got our stitching line is right next to the interfacing here. You'll continue that on and you'll actually stitch on the curve, continue on and stitch on the interfacing. So it's a 1/4 inch in from the edge, back onto the curve, down the edge, all the way again. So back stitch at the beginning and the end here. Go slowly when you go around the curve so that you have a nice even curve with your stitching. Starting from the folded edge, back stitch, when you're sewing you can actually feel the ridges of the 2 folded pieces of fabric. Where that first fold is, I'm going to go back just to secure it, then go forward, feel the lump in the next one, do the same thing. And that'll just make sure that those sections never come apart. And when I get up to the drawn curve, I'll start going slowly. Then I can go straight for a bit. And then go all the way down again, and where those ridges are, I'm going to backstitch again as well. Okay, we are almost done. Just double check the sides to make sure that you have actually caught the sides of all of the layers of fabric. You can remove the clips and we can trim the curve, and I'm going to trim the curve fairly close to the edge but not too close that the thread is going to tear and fall through the stitching. And just at the corners here I'm going to trim a little bit off there. And now we're ready to turn this the right way around. Go down to the bottom here and you'll find that opening. Grab the top and then start pulling everything through. Once you've got everything lined up nicely, the edges tidied up, we've got our top stitching along here in this little pocket. We've got top stitching partially along here, and we've got this opening here that we need to now close. You can see what I meant earlier. If I were to top stitch from the outside edge in, it's a little bit difficult to work with, so it's much easier to do a partial top stitch. And I can now go and just top stitch that section closed. That'll close up the opening, and I can also top stitch around this flap here. So we'll do that from the outside. Move your strap out of the way, top stitch around here, just in the top flap section, and then all we need to do is put a snap on. I'm going to turn my bag inside out to do the top stitching because I like to see the area that I'm sewing. So I've lined up the needle with the end of the stitching line I did earlier. So that opening is now closed up, and we can go and do the top stitching around the flap area. Okay, we are almost done. All we need to do is put a snap into the little flap at the top there and a snap down here as well, and we can close up our bag like that. You don't have to put this strap on at all. I just thought it might be a nice little decorative feature. So I'm going to put some plastic snaps on there. So work out whereabouts you want to put the first one, and I'd like to put one right about there in the center. So I poke a hole through all those layers of fabric with my awl. You want to be careful because these are really sharp. And I'll take one side, feed that through, clamp it shut, and then we want to work out where we want the snap to meet at the other end. So the center of my snap is right here. I don't want to go through all of the layers. I only want to go through the layers in the front pocket. So I'll poke the awl through, come out only through that front section, and I'll pop the pointy thing in from the inside, grab the other one, and we'll clamp that closed as well. And there we have a cute little bag. Pop your phone inside the back there, and you can pop your glasses in there as well and snap that shut. It's a great little way to keep your glasses and your phone handy and nicely packed away inside your bag. So I wasn't lying, was I? It is a quick project, very simple to do. You don't have to put this little strap on the back of the bag. You can actually put the little snap on the flap instead and have that connected to the front. I might just mention too, there's a fair bit of bulk in this strap, so don't put the interfacing on the inside of the strap if you're going to use these little plastic snaps, because the snap doesn't hold very well on here. Being a strap, I thought it would need that extra stabilizer, but there's 4 layers of fabric and then 4 layers of interfacing. It doesn't need all of that, so leave the interfacing out. And I'll modify the instructions in the video to reflect that as well. A snap will go on much better if you don't put the interfacing on. I do get asked often when I present a video if I'm going to make the product for the shop. Probably not. I've got too many items in the shop as is, and I won't be able to get much done in the next few months anyway. So this is just a very quick project for you guys. Hope you've enjoyed it, and I shall catch you next time. Bye for now.